We have nothing to fear but fear itself. The author of this quote, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, lived and conducted his presidency in this way. He lived and presided without fear. Many of us could not say the same. He went against all odds after, for example, contracting polio at a young age and yet still pursuing offices on the local, state, and national levels. He even went on to be our 32nd president. And not only that, he led our country through one of the single most hard times we have ever seen, the Depression of the 1930s. By this, we can see that FDR was an important figure. I can say this with three main reasons. One, he was a strong leader. Two, he was a visionary. And three, he was highly relatable with the common person. First, he was a strong leader. During his time, he was very strong. He was able to get things done. Many of us today have a very hard time with what we may think as inadequate politics, things not getting done. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was absolutely the opposite of this. He was able to get things done, and he knew how to do it. According to David Kennedy, a Stanford historian, he was better than most. He was a quick study. He could connect with people. He had a strong character. He had the political skills to get what he wanted off of the drawing board, and he had luck. And that is what we do not see today, and that's what we need to see what Franklin Delano Roosevelt was so good for and why he was such an effective leader. Now, going on to my second point, he was a visionary. Many of you will be quite familiar with what Franklin Delano Roosevelt did during his time as president. Many would probably remember Social Security, Medicare, and if you know a little bit more, the Tennessee Valley Administration. These things were all projects of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his New Deal, and we can see that he was very good at this. Now, according to Martin Liam, the Court Packing of 1930, to ushistory.org, the New Deal was most ambitious legislative program and attempted by Congress and an American president. An armada of government, bureau, and regulatory agencies you were erected to service the programs of the New Deal. Collectively, observers called them the alphabet agencies. The alphabet agencies at the time were the TVA, the WPA, many programs that were part of the New Deal, which were to help raise the country back up out of poverty from the 1930s during the Depression. And many of those, as the article then goes on to say, are still around today. Many of us would not even know any otherwise. And now finally, he was highly relatable with the average citizen. I know from my own personal experience and from his own history that he had modest beginnings just like you and me. And that's what made him become such an effective leader, and that's why people related with him. He was born into a regular family. He suffered hardships just as we all have. And he even used that when he made his legislation. According to Charles Sprague in Policymaking during the FDR years and How America Came into World War II. His appeal was to the working classes, and his aim was to secure some kind of decent future. He cared about the common people, and that was his main drive. And that is why we see him to be someone that we can look up to, someone that we can understand, and that's why he is such a great person. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. We should all live by those words and live by what Franklin Delano Roosevelt did during his own presidency. And by this, we can see that he was an important figure for these three main reasons. One, he was a strong leader. Two, he was a visionary. And three, he was highly relatable with the average citizen.